Everywhere you need to know if something is true or not. That's why digital provenance is so relevant right now.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Hello Trust, the podcast of Tinxta Infocert regarding the world of technology, regulation, and digital trust. With us today there is Fabio Ugolini. Hi Fabio.
Hi Silvio.
The CEO of TrueScreen, an important partner of Tinxta Infocert that operate in the field of digital provenance. So let's speak about digital provenance. What does it mean, and how it rapports with the digital trust?
Yeah, digital provenance is strictly linked to digital trust. And digital provenance is the ability for everyone to know the origin and the history, and if you can trust that data. Digital provenance is the mix of technologies and knowledge and processes that enables everyone to guarantee the trust on that file.
Okay, very clear. And so it's an hot topic today, and I think that it's quite central in the market. But why, if you can explain to us, is so relevant the authenticity and the origin about data that let's talk about a photo, a metadata, a document, and so on.
Yeah, it's evident that nowadays you can trust anymore what you see because it's too easy to manipulate. And if it's too easy to manipulate, it's so easy to dispute. So if you can trust the data anymore, you need to have something that is able to guarantee that trust. And, watching TVs or maybe working on construction field, everywhere you need to know if something is true or not. That's why digital provenance is so relevant right now.
Okay, so the topic is the fraud prevention in a certain way, authenticity, guarantee that a digital process is, let's say, secure from a legal point of view and compliant to certain standards, I can imagine.
Yeah, exactly. So every time you need to preserve the legal value, economic value, social value, political value, if you want to protect the content that you are creating, then you need to use those technology able to preserve that trust. And you can apply that mostly everywhere. For example, Gartner says that in the infrastructure, IT infrastructure of the future, digital provenance is one of the three pillars that must be inside that infrastructure. So it's inevitable that you will need to prove how data become trustable.
Okay, so it's an emerging topic, an emerging technology, an emerging field that is researched by important analysts like Gartner, for example, and it's starting to be very hot in the market as well. I can imagine that you have quite the knowledge about how it's moving this market. So from a vendor point of view and an end user point of view, what's happening?
Right now, we are in the phase that we are discovering the problem, and so we are discovering the solution. So as a vendor, we need to put together many different technologies and many different processes, many different regulations. Inside digital provenance, you can find ADAS compliance, but also cybersecurity compliances, like the ISO 27037, which is the forensic process that you must follow if you want to create something which is trustable. And also, speaking about the end user, they are discovering right now that they have a problem, and so they feel the urgency to find a way to have a solution for that, because they can trust. Digital provenance can be something in the field of anti-fraud if you are receiving the data from outside, but can be a trust instrument if you are sharing data from inside your organization to the outside. So they are becoming aware that they need something around digital provenance. They don't know that it's inside the digital provenance category. They don't know the name of the category.
Of course, but it's only the need.
They feel the need. Yeah.
And the regulation side is already operating, because you mentioned quite the names, no? ADAS 2, some cybersecurity regulation, and an ISO.
Yeah, the ISO 27037, which is in the field of in the family of cybersecurity regulations, and particularly that ISO is about the chain of custody of the probative value of a digital file, which is speaking in other words is the way how you are able to preserve in a way that nobody can dispute a digital file as something like an FBI agent that wants to preserve the probative value of a file must collect the file in that way in order to use it during justice activities.
Thank you, Fabio, for the FBI example. Very clear to me now. But even without FBI agent, can you tell us about some use cases from the market?
Yeah, it's inevitable that in many fields you will need digital provenance. So, for example, insurance or construction or even logistic transportation, also legal field, of course. And so, for example, in the insurance field, you must prove everything around the claim in order to be sure that in that moment, in that place, something happened and nobody was able to manipulate. So the same applied to many fields and will be inevitable to create trust around those data.
Okay, Fabio. So let's imagine that I'm an end user company that want to create a process based on undisputable data, or let's say a trustable process, trustable digital process with legal value. What should they do at this point?
Yeah, if you want to obtain that result, you must comply with many regulations, and you need to mix many complicated technologies, etc. And that's why companies like TrueScreen exist. So in order to simplify the adoption of digital provenance and all the technologies and regulations that you must have in order to obtain undisputable data.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Fabio. Much clearer. And thank you to you all, to all the viewers. And I suggest to click follow to our social channels like YouTube and LinkedIn. And if you want to see the other episode of Hello Trust, you can find them on YouTube channel. Thank you, and to the next episode of Hello Trust.